The airport roared with chaos. Rolling suitcases, crying babies, urgent announcements. Then silence. 14 police dogs broke formation, leashes snapping as they charged toward one woman in a red dress. Not to attack, to surround, to protect. What happened next? No one saw it coming. Morning light poured through the glass walls of the terminal, casting long shadows across polished floors. Travelers rushed in every direction, pulling luggage, clutching boarding passes, eyes fixed on departure boards. A child cried near gate B12. Somewhere a coffee cup spilled, ignored in the hurry. Among them walked a woman who moved like someone used to being unseen. Her name was Emily Carter. She wore a simple red dress, carried only a worn backpack, and walked with the quiet weight of years no one could see. Her eyes scanned the crowd, not for danger, but out of habit. She was home, finally, after vanishing into silence following her military service. She didn't know it yet, but this airport was about to become a battlefield again. Then came the K9 unit. 14 elite German shepherds marched in perfect formation, paws clicking in unison, ears sharp, heads high. Handlers guided them with pride. Passengers paused, some filming, admiring the precision. These were dogs trained to ignore distractions, to follow commands without hesitation. But as Emily passed the security checkpoint, something shifted. The lead dog stopped, then another, and another. One by one, all 14 turned their heads toward her. Their bodies tensed, noses flared, leashes strained as handlers tugged, confused. The dogs didn't growl, didn't bark. They simply stared, locked onto her with impossible focus. A hush spread. Phones rose. A little girl whispered, "Is she bad?" Emily froze. Her pulse hammered. She wasn't afraid of dogs. She'd lived beside them, fought beside them. But this 14 disciplined police K9s breaking rank to approach her made no sense at all. Years ago, under smoke-choked skies, Emily led a K9 unit through war-torn streets. She wasn't just a handler, she was family to those animals. They followed her voice, her movements, her instincts. One dog, Ranger, a scarred German shepherd with one blind eye, saved her life during an ambush. When an IED exploded, he pushed her clear, taking the full blast. She survived. He didn't. After that, she left the military, buried the pain, and tried to disappear. She thought she'd erased that life. But bonds forged in fire don't fade. They wait. And as those 14 dogs closed in, forming a tight semicircle around her, Emily felt it. The chill down her spine, the breath catching in her chest. This wasn't aggression. It was recognition. They weren't attacking. They were protecting. And somehow, they knew her. Then the scarred lead dog let out a low, trembling whine, a sound Emily had only heard once before, right before an explosion. Her soldier's mind snapped into focus. She turned slowly, scanning the terminal. At the far end, a man approached casually, rolling a small suitcase. Nothing unusual, except everything. His shoulders were stiff. His eyes flicked toward the dogs too quickly. His grip on the handle tightened just a fraction too much. Emily knew that motion. She'd seen it overseas. Someone preparing to detonate. The dogs sensed it too. All 14 turned in unison, growls deepening, bodies lowering slightly. Not toward Emily, but past her. Toward him. The air thickened. TSA officers noticed, hands moving toward holsters. But before they could act, the dogs surged forward, pulling handlers several feet. The man hesitated. He wasn't running yet, but he knew he'd been caught. Emily stepped forward. She didn't shout, didn't flinch. She moved like she was back in the field, eyes locked on the threat. The dogs reacted instantly, falling in behind her, flanking her sides, forming a living shield. Officers yelled for her to stop, but she kept walking. The scarred dog pressed against her leg, guiding her, guarding her. The other 13 followed the energy, the unity, the silent command only she could give. The man's breath quickened. He glanced left, right, saw 2 dogs circling behind him, cutting off escape. He loosened his grip, then tightened it again. Emily raised her hand slightly, just an inch, palm open. A gesture from long ago. And unbelievably, The dogs responded. They didn't lunge. They waited. The tension stretched like a wire about to snap. Security footage flashed on a supervisor's tablet. Zoomed in, the ID popped up. Asterisk Sergeant Emily Carter. Silver Star recipient. Former K-9 tactical leader. Asterisk the officer's face went pale. She's not the threat, he whispered. She's their commander. The realization hit like thunder. These dogs hadn't attacked her. They'd saluted her. They'd recognized her scent, her stance, her presence. Their leader returned. The man with the suitcase made one desperate move to run. But the dogs were faster. 2 blocked his path. 3 more cut off the exits. In seconds, he was surrounded. Officers rushed in, tore open the case. Inside, hidden beneath clothes, military-grade explosives wired for mass damage. He was dragged away, cursing. The danger was over. Emily exhaled, kneeling slowly. The scarred dog nudged her hand with his nose, letting out a soft whine. Gentle, familiar, like a child greeting a parent after years apart. Tears welled in her eyes. "Good boy," she whispered, hand resting on his head. "You never forgot me." The other dogs leaned in, tails lowering, bodies pressing close. Not in defense now, but in reunion. Handlers watched in stunned silence. These animals had disobeyed direct orders. Not out of chaos, out of loyalty. They hadn't followed human commands. They'd followed her. The crowd, once fearful, now erupted in applause. Then cheers. Cameras rolled, capturing the veteran and her 14 guardians standing together in the center of the terminal. An officer approached, voice thick with gratitude. "Ma'am, you saved hundreds today." Emily looked at the dogs surrounding her, their eyes calm, their trust unbroken. "No," she said softly. "They did. We spent our lives searching for proof that we mattered, that our sacrifices were seen, that we're still needed. Sometimes it comes in medals, sometimes in applause. But for Emily, it came in 14 pairs of paws moving as one. In a single whine from a dog with a scarred eye. In the way they formed a circle, not to keep her out, but to bring her back in. She didn't come home looking for glory. She came hoping to vanish. But these dogs, these warriors, refused to let her disappear. They remembered her, not as broken, not as haunted, but as theirs, as leader, as pack. And when real danger walked in disguised as an ordinary traveler, they didn't hesitate. They moved, together, with purpose, with precision, with love stronger than fear. This wasn't random. This wasn't instinct alone. This was memory. This was bond. This was a language older than words. One built in trenches, sealed in silence, tested in fire. And in that crowded airport, with phones recording and hearts racing, something sacred unfolded. A woman who thought she'd lost everything found herself not in a medal or a handshake, but in the warm breath of a dog pressing against her side, in the soft thump of a tail brushing her leg, in the quiet certainty that she was still known, still trusted, still essential. If you've ever felt forgotten, if you've served and returned to silence, if you've loved and lost, if you've carried pain no one sees, this moment is for you. Because sometimes the ones who find you aren't people. Sometimes it's a bark in a crowded hall, a nudge from a cold nose, a circle of loyal eyes saying, "Asterisk, we see you. We remember you. You're home." Asterisk. And to those who think heroes are only found in headlines, look again. They walk among us, quiet, unseen, carrying scars and stories. And sometimes they wear fur. If this story touched you, hit like, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe. Because here at Rescue Tales, we believe every soul and every paw has a story worth telling. Now I'm curious, where are you watching from? Drop your country in the comments. Let's see how far this message travels. Thank you for listening, for caring, and for remembering that even in the loudest chaos, a quiet act of loyalty can change everything.